hope that you are well. And I also hope that you are having an amazing evening so far. All right, so for today's lesson, we are doing grade 6 English, and we're doing a grade 6 English lesson on helping verbs. Right, so we're doing the grade 6 English lesson on helping verbs. All right, so before we go on to um our official lesson, you're going to the a+students.ca. So you're going to log into the a+students.ca page. And you're going to log in with your username as well as your password. Once you've logged in with your username as well as your password, and then you're going to select the subject of language arts. And then we go to grade 6. All right, so once you've selected the subject of language arts, which is English, grade 6, and then you're going to scroll down to the chapter of helping verbs. So we're going to click on helping verbs. So our chapter is helping verbs. And the lesson that we are going to be focusing on today is identify main verbs and helping verbs. So identifying main verbs and helping verbs. All right. We need to helping verbs as well as the main verbs, right? A helping verb, it comes before a main verb and it helps the main verb to show the form of action or to show action. So a helping verb comes before a main verb and it helps the main verb to show action. And if you look at an example, we can say, I am resting. So resting is the main verb, which means that am is the helping verb. So I am resting. So am is the helping verb that helps the which is resting. All right, so now with am being the helping verb, right, and we also identified what the main verb is based on the example, here are now a few common helping verbs, right? And with a few common helping verbs, we have different forms. So we have um, ones that forms to be, ones that forms to have, and the ones that forms to do. And then we also have modal verbs, right? So the ones that forms to do, right, is am, which is almost like saying I am, are, it's like saying they are, is, it's like saying he or she is, was, he was, and were, they were. You understand? So these are the ones that forms to be, which is am, are, is, was, and were. Then we have the ones that forms to have, right? And to have is has, have, or had. So has, have, or had. Then we have some common helping verbs which forms to do. For example, do, does, did. So these are the common helping verbs which forms to do. Then we have modal verbs, right? We have modal verbs. And the modal verbs are can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, must. And these are our modal verbs, which is can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, must. And the helping verb, right? It always goes before the main verb, right? Because remember, we said a helping verb, it comes before the main verb and it helps the main verb to show action. So the helping verb, it always goes before the main verb. But the two verbs that are not next to each other, right? So we will of course have certain verbs that are not next to each other, which happens in most English languages, right? And remember, it is the same as certain rules that you follow with certain concepts. So the same with a helping verb that comes before a main verb, right? Which helps the main verb to show action. And we've specifically said that a helping verb, yes, it always goes before the main verb, but the two verbs, which is the main verb as well as the helping verb, they don't always go next to each other, right? It won't always say, I am resting, I am playing, she is. No, right? There will sometimes be another word or words in between that two verbs. And here we have an example. I am finally resting, right? Which means that finally is in between the helping verb as well as the main verb. I am finally resting. And these two are not next to each other, which is am, which is the helping verb, and resting, which is the main verb. All right. Now we need to select the helping verb within the sentence that is given. A strong gust of wind could topple our little tent. A strong gust of wind could topple our little tent. All right, so if we now choose the helping verb within the sentence, right, then we would say the helping verb is could. So the helping verb is could and followed by main verb, which is topple. And if we go back to that sentence, a strong gust of wind could topple. And in this case, yes, the main verb is next to the helping verb. So the helping verb is could, which is next to the main verb. So could topple, right? So we did say that a helping verb, it comes before the main verb and it helps the main verb to show action, right? And as much as the helping verb always comes in front of the main verb, but sometimes they are not next to each other, like in this case. A strong gust of wind could topple it. So could is the helping verb and the main verb is topple. The taxi, we need to select the main verb. The taxi can take you to the airport for an extra charge. We need to select the main verb within the sentence. The taxi can take you to the airport for an extra charge. We need to select the main verb within the sentence. And the main verb within the sentence is take. So take is the main sentence. So the taxi can take you to the airport for an extra charge. Take being the main verb within that sentence. Soda does contain unhealthy amounts of sugar, unfortunately. So soda does contain unhealthy amounts of sugar, unfortunately. So if we select the helping verb as well as the main verb in that sense, then we will say that the helping verb is does and the main verb is contain. So does and contain. Does being the helping verb and contain being the main verb. And once again, a helping verb comes in front of the main verb. And it helps the main verb to show action. And it doesn't necessarily have to specifically also be next to each other, right? Sometimes you will find a word that is between, let's say, the helping verb as well as the main verb. All right, so does is our helping verb and contain is our main verb. We need to select the main verb within the sentence. Mr. Moreno had advised them about their business in the past. So Mr. Moreno had advised them about their business in the past. Is advised or about? We need to select the main verb within the sentence. So if we select the main verb within the sentence between advised and about, then we would go rather with advised. You need to select the helping verb within the sentence. The taxi can take you to the airport for extra charge. The taxi can take you to the airport for an extra charge. We need to select the helping verb within that sentence. All right, so if we were to select the helping verb within that sentence, right? It says that the taxi can take you to the airport for an extra charge, right? Helping verb, right? And the helping verb, it is the word that comes before, it comes before the main verb. Is it can or is it taxi? Can or taxi? All right, so which means that we are going to choose the word can, right? Because can is the helping verb, which is also a modal verb, right? But taxi is the main verb. Now we need to select the main verb within the sentence. We should clean the fancy silverware before the holiday dinner. The main verb, is it clean or is it fancy? Fancy. All right, so if we select the main verb within that sentence, and then we are going to choose the main verb as clean. Select the main verb, right? We need to select the main verb. Is it okay? It first is the sun will rise at 6:23 tomorrow morning. The sun will rise at 6:23 tomorrow morning. Is it will or rise? Will or rise? We need to select the main verb within the sentence. Is it will or rise? The main verb. And remember, we said a helping verb comes in front of the main verb. So we need to now select the main verb. Is it will or rise? All right, let's go with rise. Rise is the main verb within that sentence. Mrs. Moran could explain the symbol's meaning. Mrs. Moran could explain the symbol's meaning. We need to select the main verb. Is it could? Is it explain? Could or explain? We need to select the correct main verb. So they want us to select the main verb within the sentence. Is it could or explain? All right. So if we choose our main verb, so Mrs. Moran could explain the symbol's meaning, right? So if we were to choose the main verb, then our main verb is explain. Katie and Jake are designing clothes for a fashion show. The main verb, select the main verb. Is it designing or is it clothes? Designing or clothes? To select the correct one. All right, if we select the main verb, then we will select it as designing clothes for fashion show. All right, so now we're going back. right? So we're going back. So this is, like we said, it is helping verbs. And so we have identified main verbs as well as helping verbs, right? And we say the helping verb comes in front of a main verb, right? And sometimes both main verb as well as the helping verb is not always next to each other. However, the helping verb is in front of the main verb. All right. Now we're going to the board. So you're basically going to just follow. All right, so there's a difference between the main verbs as well as the helping verbs, right? So there's a difference between the main verb and the helping verb, right? So helping verb, right, it links the subjects to the main idea. The subject, it is the person or thing that performs the action, right? And in the main verb, it indicates the action. But then we have our helping verb, right? It links the subjects to the main verb. And that is the differences between a main verb as well as a helping verb. Then we also lastly have object, which receive themselves, right? And if we now basically put all of that together, which is having subject, having a helping verb, the main verb, and now the object, then we can say, I am having breakfast. So I am having breakfast. I is the subject that we are talking about. Am is the helping verb. Having is our main verb, and that indicates the action. And then we have the object, which receives the action, which is breakfast. All right, so now we are going to look at possible helping verbs, right? So, helping verbs is another word for auxiliary verbs, and it helps the main verb to describe action. And that action, it happened in the past or is happening in the present and will happen in the future, right? So, remember, the helping verb or auxiliary verb, it helps the main verb to describe the action. And that action helped or happened in the past, right? In the present, or it will still help in the future. So if we look at possible, or we look at a few helping verbs, we look at a few helping verbs. It's am, are, I'm going to go down the list. Be able to, been, and being, can, could, dare, did, do, does, going to, had better, has, have to, is, may, might, must, need, ought to, shall, should, was, were, will, do. So this is but a few of the helping verbs, which we also call auxiliary verbs, right? And once again, we see it when it comes to helping verbs or auxiliary verbs, right? Because the helping verb or auxiliary verb, another word for auxiliary verb, it helps the main verb to this. It helps the main verb to basically describe the action, and that action, it happened in the past, or it is happening in the present, or it will happen in the future. And your helping verb will basically tell you if it is also happening in the present, past, or future, and as well as your main verb, right? Because it will either show its ongoing action, or it is in the past, or it is in the future, right? Which means that the helping verb as well as the main verb, it works hand in hand. All right, so now we're going to look at an activity. We're going to do an activity, right? So a helping verb, another word for a helping verb, we said is an auxiliary verb. And an auxiliary verb is a verb that helps the main verb of the sentence. And we specifically say that the helping verb or the auxiliary verb, it comes in front of the main verb. All right, so now we're going to do the activity. The activity says choose the correct auxiliary verb. So we need to choose the correct auxiliary verb. It says Andy. We need to choose between is, am, does, are working on his homework. So Andy is working on his homework, am working on his homework, does working on his homework, are working on his homework. We need to choose the correct one. Right? Oopsie. Gosh. Sorry. And if we choose the correct one, then we will say it is. So Andy is. Let me take this off. Is. Remember when it is singular, right? Say for example, like Andy, that shows one person, right? Then we will use words like is, right? Am, we will use when we say, for example, I am, right? Or we will use if we are maybe using a plural form of the subject will be plural, right? So they are, or Sarah and Andy, they are. All right. Samantha. Samantha is make dinner with her grandma. Samantha am make dinner with her grandma. Samantha does make dinner with her grandma. Or Samantha are make dinner with her grandma. We need to choose the correct word in bracket in order to fill in what the helping verb is. Or another word for helping verb, like we said, is the auxiliary verb. All right. So Samantha is, gosh. Samantha is, we can't say Samantha is. We can't say Samantha am. So we will say Samantha does. Let me take this thing off. Samantha does make dinner with her grandma. The friends going to South Carolina. Is it the friends is going to South Carolina? The friends am going to South Carolina? The friends does going to South Carolina? Or the friends are going to South Carolina. And we are going to choose the friends are going to South Carolina. And as you can see, friends, it is plural, right? It shows more than one person. So are, the helping verb, it refers to more than one. We need to choose one of these words, which is either is, am, does, are. Your dad work in this building? So is it is your dad work in this building? Am your dad work in this building? Does your dad work in this building? Or are your dad work in this building? So we can then ask the question, does your dad work in this building? All right, we need to choose one of these words. You want to come to my house later. So are you want to come to my house later? Am you want to come to my house later? Do you want to come to my house later? Or does you want to come to my house later? If we were to choose the base one, we would say it is do you want to come to my house later? Mike isn't like animals, doesn't like animals, aren't like animals, don't like animals. Right? So we need to say, oh, gosh. What the heck? Sorry. I don't know what's happening. Sorry. So we need to choose between isn't, doesn't, aren't, or don't. I apologize for that. It is my where my pen is. So Mike isn't like animals, Mike doesn't like animals, Mike aren't like animals, or Mike don't like animals. We need to choose the correct auxiliary verb or helping verb in order to basically complete the sentence. So we can't say isn't like animals. So it's either Mike doesn't like animals or Mike don't like animals. Right? So we can maybe like say Mike, let's say Mike don't like animals. Or he does not like animals. So we can either say Mike doesn't like animals or Mike don't like animals. Let's just go with Mike doesn't like animals. So either doesn't or don't. The poster is hanging on the wall, or the poster am hanging on the wall, or the poster does hanging on the wall, or the poster are hanging on the wall. So we can say the poster is because it is referring to one poster. Remember we said if it's referring to one person thing, then we say is, for example. But if it's referring to more than one, like a plural form, then we use are. Where are your family like to eat, or where am your family like to eat, where do your family like to eat, or where does your family like to eat? So we can then say, where does your family like to eat? So this is basically the auxiliary verbs that we had to choose within that sentences, right? And remember we said auxiliary verbs, it is a verb that helps the main verb of the sentence, right? So auxiliary verbs is also helping verbs, and the helping verbs, it comes before the main verbs, right? All right. So now we're going to the next one, which is helping verbs also. And once again, helping verbs are auxiliary verbs that helps the main verb to express its tense, its mood, or voice. And a few examples is be, do, have. That is but a few examples. And remember, we also went over a few other examples of helping verbs. And based on the activities that we've done so far, we have identified quite a few helping verbs, right? Or auxiliary verbs, like we can call it. So now we are going to underline the helping verb within each sentence. We're going to underline the helping verb. And remember, we said the helping verb, it comes before the main verb, right? The helping verb comes before the main verb. She is singing a song. She is singing a song. We need to underline the helping verb within that sentence. She is singing a song. All right, so if we identify the helping verb within the sentence, then we're going to say is she is. So is our helping verb that goes in front of our main verb, which is singing. So is the helping verb or the auxiliary verb, and our main verb is singing. We should eat breakfast before our field trip. We should eat breakfast before our field trip. We need to underline the helping verb within that sentence. We should eat breakfast before our field trip. So if we select, or if we about to identify, oopsie, stop. Gosh. So if we select or identify, if we select or identify the helping verb, I think I'm going to leave that. If we select or identify the helping verb within that sentence, the auxiliary verb with the helping verb, then we would say it is should, right? So should is the helping verb or the auxiliary verb, right, within the sentence. And the main verb is eat. So should is the helping verb, eat is our main verb. And as you can see, should also comes before the main verb. So should is either helping verb, or another word for the helping verb we said is an auxiliary verb. All right, so number 3 says, I have been studying for my test. I have been studying for my test. We need to select the helping verb within this activity, right? All right, so if we select the helping verb or the auxiliary verb within the sentence, right, then we can say that um, either we can say been or we can say has been, right? So has been is our helping verb within the sentence, right? And our main verb is studying. Have been and studying is our main verb. He has been reading a book. He has been reading a book. We need to identify the helping verb within that sentence. He has been reading a book. So the helping verb, also known as the auxiliary verb within the sentence, can be has been. Has been. And our main verb, we can identify the main verb as reading. So reading is our main verb. Has been is our helping verb. We are having a picnic. We are having a picnic. We need to select the helping verb within the sentence. We are having a picnic. If we select the helping verb within that sentence, right? Then we can identify the helping verb as, where are we now? Are. So are is the helping verb, right? And the main verb is having. So the main verb is having, and are is the helping verb. They will be arriving soon. They will be arriving soon, right? We need to select the helping verb. So will be is the helping verb, and our main verb is arriving. So they will be arriving soon. The main verb is arriving, and our helping verb is will be. She can dance gracefully. She can dance gracefully, right? So she can dance gracefully. If we select the helping verb within that sentence, then we can choose the helping verb as can. She can. And dance is our main verb. So dance is the main verb, can is the helping verb, also known as the auxiliary verb that helps the main verb to express its tense. He had been working on a project. So he had been working on a project. If we select the helping verb within the sentence, then we can say had been is a helping verb, right? And working is our main verb. So working is the main verb, and had been is our auxiliary verb, also known as our helping verb. The cat was sleeping on the couch. So the cat was sleeping on the couch. So was is the helping verb, and sleeping is the main verb. They are going to the movies. Are is our helping verb, also known as our auxiliary verb. Going is the main verb. And she should pass the test. Should is our helping verb. Pass is the main verb. And then lastly, he has finished his homework. Has is our helping verb, and finished is our main verb, right? So these are but a few sentences where we identified the helping verbs within the sentences, right? Not only did we identify the helping verb within the sentence, but we also identified the main verb, because it says a helping verb, right? Helping verbs are auxiliary verbs, and auxiliary verbs that helps the main verb to express its tense, to express its mood, or to express its voice, right? And then we identified what the helping verbs or the auxiliary verbs are within these sentences. All right, we also identified the helping verbs or the auxiliary verbs within that sentence, and here we had a breakdown of the differences between the main as well as the helping verbs. All right, so once again, just to recap, a helping verb, it comes before a main verb. Helps the main verb to show the action, right? And some of the common helping verbs, right, they either form words like to be, which is am, are, is, was, were. They form to have, like has, have, had. They form to do, which is do, does, did. And we also have modal verbs, which is can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, must. Right? So these are common helping verbs, right? And keeping in mind that a helping verb comes before a main verb and it helps the main verb to show action. You will find a helping verb as well as the main verb that are sometimes not directly next to each other. And you will maybe find a word or two words in between it. But that is fine as long as you are able to identify the helping verb that helps the main idea to either show its tense, its mood, or to express its voice. All right, so grade six, that is now the end of our lesson. That is now the end of the lesson on helping verbs. And we identified the main as helping verbs within that chapter of helping verbs. Thank you very much for joining the lesson, very much for joining the class. You have an amazing evening further. Goodbye.